Welcome to the Growth Buyer Podcast, where we engage with top business leaders who share their experiences and provide real insights that help them attract customers, retain staff, and grow their bottom line. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi there, I'm Kevin Horrigan, the host of the show, where I feature inspiring business leaders from various backgrounds and industries who are willing to share their insights and stories. Today's podcast is brought to you by Spinutech. Spinutech is a leading digital advertising agency with 170 team members across the United States, helping their clients attract new customers, grow existing, and ultimately help become more successful. Spinutech, thank you for your sponsorship today. Our guest today is Dana Karzan. She's the Chief Marketing Officer of VyStar Credit Union. Dana is a proven and innovative leader, product marketer, and brand strategist with over 20 years of experience in banking and fintech. Currently serving as the Chief Marketing Officer at VyStar Credit Union, Dana leads brand and product marketing, advertising, sponsorships, social media communications, public relations, and community engagement. She's known for a deep focus on customer-driven approaches and expertise in branding, has successfully designed and launched brands for global financial and technology products. Dana was recognized by Industry Air as a top 10 woman CMO of 2022 and Icon Awards as top 50 marketer of 2022. Dana, welcome to the Growth Buyer Podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. So Dana, I think our audience would love to know a little bit about yourself. Tell us, where did you grow up? Maybe when you were a little girl, what you aspired you might want to do when you hit the career world. We'd love to learn more about you.
Well, great. Well, I had a very middle-class upbringing in the Midwest, in Minnesota, is where I was born. Well, not born, but grew up. I was the child of divorced parents and raised by a very strong single working mother, which definitely had an impact on me. I grew up in a small city, but in a very agricultural rural area. Although we had a major university, which had a lot of international students, and I would say I was really lucky in my life. My mom exposed me to a lot of travel, a lot of arts in my lifetime. So I got to experience a little bit more of the world than I think a lot of my friends around me. When I was in school, I was in every little activity, which I think now speaks to the long list that you went through of what I did in marketing, but kind of had my finger in everything from figure skating to cheerleading to Model UN, and everything in between. I think what really piqued my interest young was politics and international affairs. Mm-hmm. And I ended up studying that in undergrad and spent a little time after school in the real world in international affairs and didn't love it. Wasn't going to be my career going forward. And so I decided to go back and get my MBA, and I found marketing, and I really fell in love with specifically customer engagement and retention when I was in marketing. And so that's really where it really kicked off my career.
Well, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we have conversations today. With your role at VyStar today, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I found my way to VyStar after, a pretty long career and, working at a lot of large banks. And as you mentioned, even spent a little time with a very well-known social platform. I had the opportunity to come to VyStar to really lead a breadth of marketing and really have the opportunity to set up a more modern marketing function. And also to work for an organization that had a very ambitious growth plan. So really what was unique about the role at VyStar and what made me really excited about it was that, VyStar as a credit union is a not-for-profit.
Right.
Which really means that we don't answer to shareholders. We actually answer to what we call our customers, which are members.
Right.
And therefore, really our focus goes on to members in the community. So while my role has all the traditional like advertising and product marketing and PR and comms, it also has this unique piece where I actually lead the community development side of it and the community engagement side of it, and was even able to start Foundation while I've been here.
Wow. That's fantastic. And you talked about how, you work for different financial institutions in the credit union space. In the credit union space, your members are who you're reporting to, not a board of directors or shareholders. How does credit union marketing differ from other financial service institutions?
I would say it really doesn't differ. I would say, where we have an advantage is, and at least our organization chooses to focus on the benefits that we can bring the members and also the benefits we bring the broader community. And we leverage the work we do in the community to hopefully attract more like-minded members and to deepen our relationships with our existing members. We really, we really find that we find a synergy with people that are focused on uplifting their communities and doing more good themselves in the communities.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And it sounds like, if I interviewed other people in the financial services sector from a marketing perspective, sometimes they say like, our industry is regulated. It can be sometimes a little bit boring from a marketer's perspective and not, as flexible and fun maybe as maybe some other marketplaces could be. How do you bring out the emotional side of advertising?
Well, I think much to my surprise, when I first came into financial services as a whole, financial services is very emotional. You think about things like a checking account or a mortgage, it doesn't sound too emotional, but it's really what sits behind it. And it's, if you really think about what those products do, is they enable people to achieve their dreams, whether that's, being able to purchase their first home for their family, send their kids to college, maybe even, do things like bring their parents on a dream vacation that they've always wanted to go to. So we're really in the business of enabling those dreams. And on the other side, from an emotional standpoint, is that financial services can also be quite fear-based and anxiety-provoking for some people.
Sure.
And so again, we look at our role is to also help to alleviate some of those anxieties and fears through helping people through their financial lives. And whether that's, educating them on ways to make their money either grow faster or for them to consolidate their debt quicker. And then again, achieve some of those longer term goals or even medium term goals that they have.
Right.
So really, when we talk about, and that was a long way to answer your question, but really where we look at is really starting with our purpose. When we look at bringing the emotion into the advertising, understanding all of those insights about folks as they're looking at their financial relationship and their financial services pieces. But we bring our purpose, which is to do good, and our core value of to lead by example. Mm-hmm. And our entire brand, our organizational culture is all centered on this. We actually have a saying that we're focused on growth for good. Mm-hmm. So in other words, we look at our growth of our organization is a way to bring more good to the members and to the communities we serve. And our advertising really highly reflects that. We try to focus on the good we see in our communities, emotional things like whether it's, a family providing for their children, our military, which we have we were started on a Navy base. So we have a deep affiliation to the military. So showing them an action of serving their country, or even just everyday people like teachers or bus drivers serving their communities. We really like to focus on the fact that doing good is actually a lot of those simple things in life versus those big grand gestures. They can both be important, but really where we focus in our advertising is on those simple, doing good every day kind of messages and images.
Well, and that's fascinating because in some of our prior conversations, something I remember that you shared with me is that like your credit union maybe took a little bit of a different approach on companies who were struggling to maybe make their mortgage payments, were facing foreclosure and stuff like this, and maybe going back to doing what's good and helping the community and all that stuff, you maybe approach that differently than other financial institutions might have looked at it as just a calculation or a black and white line of separation of they can keep it or that gets to foreclosure. Can you talk a little bit about you kind of take that good approach and maybe you share an example of how your credit union does it differently?
Yeah. And, again, I've worked for a lot of amazing organizations that give back to their communities. What I really love about VyStar is that we really take it beyond the big check moment. I like to call it, you've seen them with the big check, and we definitely give the big checks to our organizations, but we really try to look and take on the problems that they're trying to be solved by the organization, nonprofit organizations. I'll give you an example. We work with Habitat for Humanity in Jacksonville, our local area. And so, yes, we give them the big check. We have a ton of employee volunteers that go and help and support the building of the homes and various things. But we take it a step further. We also have leaders from our organization, employee leaders that go and serve on the board of directors for them. So they're in the day-to-day helping the organization move forward, get more fundraising. And then another example was there was another financial institution that had to back away from giving really low to no interest loans to those families getting those homes. We stepped in and we covered loans for families and at a very low, in some cases, no interest rate. So they could really get in and step into their new homes for their family that, Habitat for Humanity has helped build. So that's an example of where we really take it to the next level. I'll give you one other short example. In Jacksonville, we're really working hard at developing our downtown, reinvigorating it and bringing it back. So we at VyStar not only moved our campus downtown, so we took over the lease of a couple of buildings, but then we took it a step further. We not only serve again on boards and organizations within downtown to attract new people, we also provided space in our buildings and very reasonable, let's say in these terms, to restaurants and other retail organizations to get them to come and start to build, services.
Yes.
And then we needed a garage. We were growing our employees. And so we not only built a garage, but we built a garage in a way that we won some design awards. So it's very attractive, fits really well. And it will also have enough space to service and bring in a new hotel unit that's coming nearby. We also put retail on the bottom level, so we're attracting another restaurant. We gave space to nonprofits in that retail space, again, at really great terms.
Right.
So they could actually, build out and, again, bring more people downtown. And then another thing we do is we sponsor, we call it the River Jams, where we bring entertainment in for a month in April. On Thursdays to, again, bring more people downtown and appreciate all of the new businesses, et cetera, that are growing there. So we just like to not just give the check. We really like to get in and really be part of the solution to the problem.
Right. And it sounds like in doing that, bringing that solution, you're bringing people together. So I think when you're giving the check, sure, there's a few people there and there's a beautiful photo op with the, 3 foot by 5 foot check, so to speak. But it sounds like you're bringing the community together. How does that help you drive growth for the bank?
Yeah, it helps on a number of levels. So, I think, of course, there's wonderful PR, earned media moments that we get out of that, but it really just continues to bring to life our purpose, and it just reinvigorates our purpose that we share with all of our members. We use in all of our brand campaigns. We use in even our product campaigns. It brings it to life. But all of those opportunities that whether we're working on boards of directors in the community or, forums or other things, we're meeting other business leaders, which again attracts more business opportunities for financial services. It grows our network, and people understand really what we're about, and that again, we're not here to just say we're doing good. We actually, hopefully, people see and demonstrate that we mean what we say. And that builds trust with us as an organization. And I know, one of the things that is amazing about working here, and when I came to Jacksonville, met some neighbors, and I walked outside, and I had been working for really large organizations, and you sometimes kind of, when people ask where you work, you're a little bit shyer to maybe answer that. But I answered VyStar Credit Union, and unsolicited, the neighbors were like, "Oh, we love VyStar," and I have my car loan there, or my checking account, or the people are so good, and they do so much in the community. And it's that kind of word of mouth and that advocacy that is built off of, honestly, the good deeds that we invest back to the community that has really helped us grow quite fast.
Right.
And is pretty inexpensive, right? It's word of mouth is the best kind of advocacy you can get.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you talk about that rapid growth. You guys have been growing very, very rapidly. And I don't think that's just in number of members, but maybe from a geographic perspective too. What seems like it was a great community home base is now growing really, really large. Is it losing that community feel, or are you able to maintain that as you had this rapid growth?
Yeah, it's a really great question. It presents new challenges, right? When you're in a community you've been at for a while, you've been able to really develop your relationships with so many organizations in the community. That word of mouth is just so vibrant. We have moved into some newer markets, larger markets like in Orlando, and we're now moving into Atlanta. It takes time. It doesn't matter how much good you do. It does take time to build that. But so we put together a go-to-market plan that really focuses on embedding into the community quite quickly. So often we are going to market with branch builds into the new organization. And even before that branch is finished, we've got the branch team, and I've got a regional person from my community team that is on the ground there. They're building relationships with the chambers. They're building those relationships with the nonprofit organizations. We're understanding what's going on in those communities, what needs they have, what are their biggest challenges, and trying to get in there before that, even those doors open. So by the time we do have that branch opening, we've got, partners and community leaders attending that opening and already advocating for us. Yes. And then we do all the traditional pieces too, right? Mind you, we at a local level, do the surround sound digitally, with outdoor, sometimes with broadcast, direct mail, and those things to build awareness of who we are. But we really, want people to understand we're authentic. You can say you're doing good, right? But we want people to see that demonstrated in how we come into a community and how we build from there.
Yeah, no, very, very, very impressive. Dana, I think, one of the things that you and your team are very good at as well is, you're just really strong in the digital media space. Can you help us understand maybe a little bit about what some of your strategy and vision is there?
Well, we haven't always been strong there. And it was, I talk about coming into this organization and modernizing it. And that was really one of the bigger opportunities when we came in. And so really, I'll be really honest, we've really leaned into partners quite strong, and finding partners that could really help us get up the learning curve really quickly. And so, we've done that. We've really focused on the content. I call it content, but, we've invested in good offers. We've done a lot of partner sponsorships and engaged them in the content creation. we've worked and developed some really interesting new products and programs. One of them is our Military Heroes Mortgage and what we call our Everyday Heroes, which is, some ability for people, again, in everyday frontline and servicing, from bus drivers to teachers, to, people that, work in the city governments, et cetera, for them to get some special rates on mortgages, and it'll allow them to really kind of achieve some of those dreams.
Right.
So, really coming up with those innovative products that can really kind of help us break through, using a lot of creative, a lot of video. We have our own studio, which we can create video and do things like podcasts and broadcasts and things like that. I think the last thing I will mention is just really focus on engagement through our digital channels.
Yes.
So we brought in a lot of best practices to gain engagement. So whether it's contests, we have a really cool program we do around this time of the year for our Military Appreciation Month coming up, where we have a program where it's Honor Your Heroes. We have, through social, we have our members nominate those amazing military heroes, spotlight them, and then we select some of them to have some really special experiences at our sponsorships, whether it's the University of Florida or Florida State University, the games, or even the Jaguars games, or we also have a sponsorship with Orlando Magic. So we get some wonderful content from those. We also do a big program called Good is Everywhere, where, again, we focus on the good we see across our communities. We have opportunities for our members to go and experience, whether it's museums or entertainment venues. We even did a sports clinic with the Orlando Magic, a youth sports clinic, so they could sign up. So again, we get a lot of incredible engagement through these types of activities that really help us with the content. And then the last piece is we really utilize our employees for distribution. So we have a full employee social content program where they bring in, and we're a regulated industry, so we have the checks and balances in place on that content, but then they distributed it out from there, and we just get a lot of really great variation and coverage and engagement through that.
No, I mean, I love everything I hear, and I think you talked a lot about you're really getting the community involved to really be active in a lot of event-based stuff that, we get people excited about maybe wanting to participate. Obviously, as you're growing geographic expansion, you're doing this in different communities too, and then to hear that, your team members are helping do a lot of the promotion, like that's really impressive that you've got them to buy into this. And like you said, in a regulated space too, not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do. But certainly like your growth is proof of the effectiveness of what's been able to take place, and super, super, super amazing what you've been able to accomplish with you and your team.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I also didn't mention that I have an amazing team, and I just, they are so bought in to our culture, our purpose, and telling the story. I mean, the team really thinks of themselves as the storytellers, and they do such an amazing job. Their heart goes into those stories and that content that is created, and it really comes out, I think, incredibly well. So I'm really blessed to have such a great team.
No, and it sounds like it, like you shared, you're fortunate that some of your promotions coming directly from your team, and not just your direct reports, but the entire organization. Like that's very impressive. That's super impressive. Dana, I'm going to ask you two more questions. The first one I ask every guest, and that is, have you ever had any mentors in your life, and what did they mean to you?
Again, been totally blessed with some amazing mentors and really people that have inspired me in my career. I think the first is really a lot of, I come from a long line of incredibly strong women in my family. My grandmother went to college in the 1920s and was very supportive at, running a general store, or her family business at the time. My mom really taught me a lot about what it is to give back. And, I've been able to take that in this wonderful job that I've landed in to make that true. And then I had an aunt that was an entrepreneur and built her own financial planning and wealth management business that, really kind of gave me that business, interest in business.
Right.
I think the one person I will call out is, one of my first jobs after grad school. I had this manager who saw things in me that I didn't see in myself, and not only told me about that, but gave me opportunities to demonstrate and stretch me. And then he championed me in the organization. And, I'll never forget, he told me, as I was a young entry level marketer, you're going to be CEO someday. And, no one had ever, believed in me in that way. And that really got me to dream bigger and to think bigger about where I could be. And, he's been a person that I've gone back to throughout my career for advice and guidance, and, always just been a wonderful cheerleader in the background.
No, and Dana, I think you said some things that parallel so many of the other past guests here about their mentor, and that is they saw something in the person that they were about to mentor, whether it was official mentoring or just, not official, but they saw something in them. They gave them more of their time, and in there, the person being mentored started to dream bigger. They started, their telescope had a longer range. It had a bigger picture, and it's one without that mentor that they might not have had the opportunity to understand what more they could be capable of. And to hear one day you're going to be CEO, how motivating is that, right? And
yeah, unbelievable.
And not to just be someone saying something because they want to make you smile or whatever, really believing in it and convincing you. I think that's what we hear from the mentors. And for those of you who are listening, to the Growth Fire podcast here, that just seems to be an element of every one of our guests here are sharing their inspiration and their story that, sometimes mentorships take place by design, and sometimes you don't know that this person you're talking to is going to be your next mentor, but they do help create a landscape above and beyond maybe what you've been able to see to the nth degree yourself so far. And so embrace it when you can. Often it opens up doors that you never would see, and those mentors, typically become mentors for life too.
Absolutely. And I think it's also about how can we give that to others, right? When we're in our positions. And I often think about that, and I see many team members through the years that didn't have that confidence, didn't believe in themselves, and to be able to kind of give them that little boost. I know, personally what that can do for someone.
No, absolutely. And I've connected with a lot of my mentors. There's one mentor that has no idea he was a mentor to me, and I just saw him in Publix probably about 7 weeks ago. We were going down the escalator together. He's probably about 82 years old today. And we hadn't seen each other in probably 3 years, and we were just catching up. And when we broke off to go to our cars, I said to myself, the next time I see him, I'm going to tell him the day and time and conversation that he changed my life. And I bet he has no clue he ever did that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It just wore on me for a couple of days afterwards. That was my opportunity to thank him. And I don't think he has any clue what he said to me one day changed my life.
Wow.
I want him to know that. And there's others out there who for sure know they have, and they were helpful. But just, point being is embrace those who've been down the road a little bit before and learn from them. You may be surprised at what your direction may be, after that. Dana, last question. So obviously a very, very talented, very bright woman. Where do you find your inspiration today? How do you continue to learn?
Well, I'm a lifelong learner. I crave for kind of getting new ideas and new spectrums. So not surprisingly, I love podcasts. I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, and, I hear a great author talk or person speak, and I often reach out and get their books as a follow-up to those podcasts to kind of deep dive deeper in.
Yes.
I spend a lot of time not a lot of time. I wish I could take more time, but I do make time to attend conferences. I just got back from one, and I have one more to go before the end of the year. I find just getting in a room and gathering all those new ideas and new ways of thinking, it just brings a lot of energy back to me, and hopefully I can bring it back to the team and do some things differently. And then The last thing is, I do try to find new ideas from peers. So,
Right.
This year, I pulled together a group of larger credit union CMOs, and we have a very informal monthly forum, but it's been so amazing where we can, share war stories a little bit about challenges that we're all facing, but, tap into their ideas about how they're tackling some of those has been just incredibly helpful, and again, just bringing a lot more energy and new approaches in.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it sounds like listening to podcasts, attending industry events, lots of inspiration to be gained from all of there. Dana, thank you so much. We appreciate your time being spent with us on the Growth Fire podcast today. Dana, I think if someone wants to reach out to you after they watch or hear this podcast today, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Oh, yes. The best way is I'm at through email. So I can be reached at karzand@vystarcu.org. And that's the best way to reach me. I'm also on LinkedIn. So it's Dana Bodie Karzan on LinkedIn. So love to hear from various folks.
Thank you. We were talking about Dana Karzan, CMO of VyStar Credit Union. Dana, thank you so much again for being a guest on the Growth Fire podcast. We really appreciate you sharing your story, and we wish you, success on your ongoing journey.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Growth Fire podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.